Well, joining me now from London is Rabina Khan, a former councillor and cabinet member for housing in Tower Hamlets. Rabina, thanks so much for speaking to us. These violent demonstrations we're seeing in the UK seem to be defined by racism, particularly towards the Muslim community. But many officials, even the media itself, isn't really overtly saying that. Why is that?
Well, I think the UK is now grappling with a surge of far-right violence, and it's been sparked by the tragic killing of three little girls at a Taylor Swift themed dance class. And what began as a local tragedy has escalated into a national crisis, and it's been driven by racism and deep-seated Islamophobia. Muslims aren't there going out there rioting. Muslims aren't there looting or destroying businesses. They're out there defending their communities, the mosques, the people that they care for, all the communities that they stand by. And this problem that Britain and the UK now has as a whole in understanding what Islamophobia is and how it affects Muslims must be addressed, and it's across all of the political spectrum as well. All three political parties have a role to play in this, and they have to accept that it's racism, it's anti-immigration rhetoric, it's also political rhetoric that has normalised in the way that politicians use language and the way it impacts communities. We've already seen countries across the world who are now issuing as travel warnings, and I can see that it will affect this country. And the problem is, until politicians understand that racism is one thing, Islamophobia is one thing, there are millions of Muslims in this country. We pay a contribution to the economy in this country. We are here to stay. This is our home, and it has to be addressed. That is Islamophobia, deep-seated Islamophobia.
Rabina, how do leaders and politicians start to address these issues? Because these demonstrations don't seem to be quietening down. They appear to become more violent and spreading across England.
This is a catalyst for unrest. We've seen what it was. It was misinformation, disinformation across the social media. 420 arrests have been made. We've just seen what's happened in Plymouth today, and more scenes will take place. But it is important for politicians to address that this rhetoric didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of time in which the normalisation of language against immigration, immigrants, refugees, Muslims, and scapegoating people of colour has come to in such a way, and it's impacted on people in the north where people feel neglected as well. But those who have been rioting, and that's what they have, they're rioters and they're thugs. The thuggery that has taken place is an issue against the Muslim community. We saw when these three little girls were murdered, the very first thing that social media, Nigel Farage, for example, Tommy Robinson, they all decided maybe it's the police were not telling the truth, that it was some kind of terror attack. And who do we point to but the Muslims? And yet Muslims by far are one of a group of communities who are so law-abiding, who pay and contribute to British society. We've seen an increase of Islamophobia attacks on Muslim communities. And I believe all three main parties, political parties in this country, have a role to play in understanding further of the needs of the Muslim community and the lack of engagement with the Muslim community.
Rabina, what role is social media also playing in this? Because this also was sparked by misinformation on social media that the person who carried out the Southport attack was a migrant, was a Muslim migrant, when in fact it was a 17-year-old born and raised in the UK.
In Cardiff, yes, he was born and raised in Cardiff. And then you had people like Nigel Farage who questioned whether the police were telling the truth, that it wasn't an anti-terror attack. Then you had Tommy Robinson fueling it on social media. You had at End Wokeness and European Invasion, all of these Twitter ex-platform accounts that were fueling this hatred. By fueling this online hatred, this must be addressed. It's not just only the thugs and the people who rioted and caused harm, and they also caused harm against police officers who were trying to protect communities. Innocent staff people, libraries were burnt down. You had citizens' advice bureaus being burnt down, businesses looted, Greggs looted, Shoe Zone looted, all of these businesses that I grew up as a child. And I saw them, and this is not protesting, this is rioting. The misinformation and disinformation contributed through online media platforms means that not only does the government have to address the thuggery, but also the people who whipped up the hatred towards migrant communities and people of colour communities, but they should also be held to account for what they did on social media. And we see now the radicalisation of right-wing amongst young people we've seen it in the north, where young people are saying some terribly racist and Islamophobic things towards migrant communities. And this is not what the UK is about. Britain hasn't been like that. I am the daughter of an immigrant family. My parents came here my father came here as a 19-year-old young man. He worked for the docks in the East End. I came to this country in 1975. All of us, all our communities have contributed. My girls, they work for the NHS. We contribute to this country. We contribute to the economy, to the communities. We are here, and we are part of the backbone of what this country is about.
Yeah.
Our generations who have come before us, we built this country, and we are proud to be living here, and we are home. We're not going.
Rabina Khan, really good to get your take live to us there from London. Thank you very much.